Hello and welcome to Clamp, the Creating, Living, and Making podcast. I'm your host, Grant Alexander, and I'm joined this week by Morley Kurt.
Hello.
And Adam Mackey.
Hello.
And this week we have a special guest, Ethan Carter.
I'm guessing I should say hello.
Yeah.
I stole Adam's hello tone of voice this week.
It's very radio-like.
Well, welcome, Ethan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.
So, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I feel like we've all talked so many times between Hangouts and podcasts and Instagram, and so it's fun to actually be together, all four of us. So it's great. So thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, so what's in your clamps this week, Ethan?
Oh, I go first. All right.
Yeah. I'm going to throw you right in there.
Yeah, just throw me in.
Coach.
So in my clamp this week, well, two things. So I'm working on a video I'm dragging my feet like crazy. I'm procrastinating like crazy. But it's a leather stitching video. It's kind of like a leather stitching 3 ways, a how-to kind of video. Just more so I can just refer to it. It's one of those kind of videos. So in my other videos, I don't have to explain my stitching every time. But yeah, it's taken me forever because it's not my typical type of video. So I'm really struggling with like the structure and, it's a lot more on camera and stuff like that. So I'm working on that, but that would also be like probably the past 4 weeks, and the next 10 weeks would also be in my clamp because I'm really procrastinating with it. In terms of actually making, I've got a couple things in the works. I've got a couple. It's funny. I'm usually someone that has kind of one bigger project and then like a lot of little unnecessary leather projects that kind of fill in the Instagram gaps. But I've started three or four kind of bigger projects that I'm really excited about, but none of them I have a clear vision on. So I'm kind of have 4 things that are like just barely started, and so I'll pick one of them so I don't bore everyone. I don't know if you guys have ever seen. Have you seen it's called the GrillGun? So no. So it's basically, have you ever seen like the attachment that you put onto a propane tank to like burn weeds or like start charcoal? Yep. So it's got kind of that like big cup at the end of it, and it's like a flamethrower more or less.
It's like the Tesla Boring Company flamethrower.
Yeah,
Grant has.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
My brother has it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's this guy that invented the GrillGun, which is basically, it looks like a handgun. Like picture a handgun with that attachment to the end, and you hook it up to a smaller propane tank, and you can kill weeds or start charcoal. And he also makes a smaller one. He calls it like the sous vide, not the same spelling, but the sous vide, which is to torch your steak or whatever. Long story short, my buddy Nick of Build Dad Build, he does a lot of Shushugiban, and so he's been working with this guy and using his products. And Nick reached out. He's like, "Can you make me a holster, a leather holster for this thing?" And I was like, "Maybe," but it's also like I can't do it without having one. So, anyways, he hooked me up with a guy that invented it. He sent me one, and so I'm currently in the process of kind of like prototyping and trying to figure this out. I haven't made many gun holsters. I haven't made any gun holsters, but there's also a couple unique things with it where if you think about a holster, it's usually the point is skinnier than the back, so you can kind of slide it in. Yeah, for all of you that aren't getting the visual, this is a great visual. But this thing has that big cup thing at the end, so you can't.
It's like it has a big
in.
silencer on it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. It looks like a big wide silencer. I got to stop using my hand gestures. But so that's one problem because you can't just slide it in. So it has to kind of have like some kind of snap system, which I haven't figured out. And then the other thing is that the end of it is super, super hot, obviously, when you first turn it off. So it will burn through leather or burn your leg. So I'm trying to figure out some way of fireproofing and hooking up. So again,
cool.
I'm totally in the prototyping. I told the guy I can't promise I'm going to come up with anything fantastic, but if you want to take a chance on me, shoot it to me. So it's fun. I'm excited about it, but it's also kind of it's not a straightforward project. So.
It's funny that you mentioned that because right before we came on, I saw Nick post the video of his GrillGun.
Yeah, so that's the sous vide. Yeah.
So now we know that not only is your phone listening to you, but it can also tell the future. Pretty crazy.
I'm curious to know how much do you need to use that to need a holster?
Nick uses it a fair amount.
He does so much Shoshugimon stuff.
Yeah, he really does. I think he has both versions too, but yeah, it's a challenge. It'll be fun if I can do it. I don't know if I'll make something that. The deal is that if I make something, I'll make one for Nick and one for the owner. I have a feeling I can make something that will be fun for both of them, but not something that will be like something that they'll ever want to mass produce. If that makes sense. But
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been working on.
You might become rich. The owner might want to make it so they can sell it.
Yeah. Be awesome.
All right. Well, that sounds like super exciting. I'm excited to see that. I've got a lot of thoughts on what you could do, but I would probably need to see the gun before I can even.
I was going to say, yeah.
Let me give you my uninformed opinion.
Yeah, and I have some thoughts. I mean, it's one of those, and it's also a little bit of I can't believe I'm talking about it because it might be a complete bust and I never finish it. But Grant, we'll talk after this because I'd like to hear your ideas. So
yeah, I'll take a look at it. All right, well, Adam, what's in your clamps this week?
I haven't really done much this week, to be honest. I have been doing mods on my car, mainly just painting everything that is black again because it's all faded from the sun, being a 10-year-old car.
In Australia.
Yeah, because we have a different sun here. And and as I said last week, I was working on the video, the second video for Woodworking for Kids, and I actually never did it, so I'm going to be doing that this week. I got the dinosaurs cut out, and then my son's actually at his grandma's at the moment because we had some stuff going on here. So when he comes back, I'm just going to get him on the scroll saw and cut it up into pieces. That's fun. So yeah, I'm excited to see how he goes on a scroll saw. 4-year-old on a scroll saw should be fun.
He'll probably love it. He'll be amped.
Probably better than I am. I'll guarantee that.
Well, I bought the spiral blade, so it can go any direction.
Yeah, that seems like that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, definitely. If he had to try and think of which way it's going to cut, no, that's too much for a 4-year-old to think of.
It's too much for me to think of.
I know.
So many scroll saw blades, trying to just going dink.
When it's turned 90 degrees, and you're like, it doesn't look right, but I'm gonna keep pushing through. Yeah.
Surely the blade will fix itself.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's supposed to get all rainbow looking, right?
Right. That burning smell is right. Yeah, that's how you know it's working.
Well, how about you, Morley? You got anything in your clamps this week?
Yeah, so I didn't have a super productive week because I mentioned going to that cottage last week. We actually went back this weekend, which was very nice, very relaxing. Had some beautiful weather. And then I was supposed to come back on Wednesday because the scenery shop had some more work for me. But it turned out that they started a day early, so I came back on Tuesday. And the past 2 days, I have been working on the scenery install for the next season of Top Chef Canada.
Oh, wow. I saw that. And was it in your stories today?
Yeah, I posted a quick story today.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
Behind the scenes of Top Chef.
Yeah, it's cool. So we built this, the shop built the scenery for it, I think 4 years ago. And they've been using the same scenery with modifications since. So it was all in trailers on the lot, and we were unloading it, putting flats together. Essentially, if you can picture, when you're watching a cooking show, you don't always look at what's in the background, but it's basically like this big fake industrial kitchen room. So we're building that in a soundstage. It's really cool. Sorry?
It's not actually real. Yeah.
Well, it's a real kitchen. You can cook in it, but it's not a real industrial building. So yeah, it's cool. It's very interesting. They actually, so this is kind of a cool little tidbit. There's long stretches of what looks like subway tiling, but what it actually is they took MDF, put laminate on top, and then CNC'd the grout lines. And then sprayed the grout lines. Then the spray paint just wipes right off the laminate. Because it would be a ton of subway tile. It'd be super heavy. And with all the bringing in and out of the trailer, it would all crack over time.
Didn't Laura Kampf do something like that? Like,
Yeah, she made plywood tiles.
plywood tiles, but yeah, it was the same kind of concept, right? It's like paint and then CNC. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's such a cool idea. It makes so much sense.
It looks so good. Like
Yeah.
it looks amazing.
That's awesome.
So something I've been tossing around for a bit for doing some mods on my car is you can buy these plastic like things that you stick onto the side of your doors, and it just like adds a little bit of texture to it. And I'm going to be cutting them out of EVA foam and then spray painting them with Plasti Dip. So it's like very similar. So cut out the design and it will look like it's made out of plastic because you can't buy them for my model. It's for the next model up.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Cool.
That's cool. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's like some of the scenic painting that's done on this is incredible. Like that's where a ton of the artistry comes in scenery, is these painters who make wood look like rusty metal and beams.
Yeah.
And it's like you step back 5 feet and it's like
Right.
it looks
That's
exactly
the beauty
right.
is the camera's back 20 feet and then
Yeah.
it's on a 27-inch screen or maybe a 70-inch screen, but whatever it is, you're never going to get close enough to be able to examine it to see its wood. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's such a cool thing about that, and even like set design and stuff like that. My grandmother was a artist, and when they retired and stuff like that, they worked with their local players, which the kind of the community acting players. And I just remember as a kid being like, that looks like stone, and then I get up close and it doesn't look anything like stone. But it's like there is such an artistry to that. Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I
So
would
it's
assume
cool.
a lot of the time you're in a rush too. So you can't make things perfect and
Right.
Exactly. That kind of does segues into our topic, but not quite yet.
Not yet.
No, it's nice. Like with the install, we have a good amount of time. Like there are people coming in behind us, putting in all the ovens and appliances and everything else. Apparently some like really nice appliances and stuff, but we're not doing that. We're doing the like building the walls and kind of like the big windows and everything that's going in. So
you'd have to think about that when building the set, wouldn't you? Like the heat from the ovens and all that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, good point.
I guess so. Yeah. I think with, I would think with modern ovens, the heat is taken into account in the appliance itself. Like it's all open in the back, right? So it's flats, and then the oven's not like completely surrounded. It's just sticking through.
Yeah.
Cool.
But it's funny, like we're taking these old like flats out of trucks, and you can see like old grease splatter from old seasons.
That's funny.
It's kind of funny. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty cool. It's nice work. I'll only be there a couple more days before I go back to the States for a week. And then in the meantime, I've also been working on some more embossed leather keychains. This is for that local restaurant across the street that I made. I made the notebook cover for the owner a little while ago, like earlier this year. And we before COVID kind of started, she wanted to do some smaller things for their grand opening. Obviously, which is not probably going to happen anytime soon.
Not as grand.
It's all socially distant patio. It's been a very underwhelming opening.
The softest opening ever.
Yes, very tentative.
That's a good way to test the staff really well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so now they're doing patio seating and stuff, and she's awesome. She's super involved in the neighborhood and supporting local businesses and stuff. So she's like, yeah, I reached out to her recently. She's like, yeah, I'd love a few keychains for myself. We'd definitely like to do something eventually. But yeah, they're coming out really crisp. I'm super nice with it. I tried a bit smaller embossing, and the Makers on Zoom Having Coffee one, the letters were into the leather. And I don't know what the technical word for this, but on this one, the letters are the only thing that is sticking up. So everything else is pressed in.
Yeah, see, that's what I was going to ask you. Because if I can ask you a quick question. So every kind of embossing stamp or whatever with my logo, it's always my logo is raised, so it's pushing my logo in. And it looked like on those, it's almost the reverse. It's like that's the empty space. So the logo or the word is the empty space, and you're pressing the leather into it.
Exactly. Yeah. So the 3D printed stamp, I didn't mention that. This is with 3D printing, is essentially it's the same thing as if you were to CNC out the letters of a logo. And so you're pressing in all the negative space.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I think looked like it works really well.
It does,
Better-
and
better
especially
than what
because
I-
it's
yeah.
pretty small.
It's it reminds me of the license plate thing that Jimmy made. He made the,
Oh, yeah.
the stamped license plate because that's what it like reminds me of, seeing the raised letters instead of the letters being the ones getting pushed in.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
it's very exciting. I'd definitely like to do it more, and like it's I think because this is like getting a little in the weeds, but just real quick, like if I think sometimes if you look at one of those embossings, it might look more complicated to make than it actually is, because there's a bit of a curve to the parts that are sticking up.
Yeah.
But that's only because the material that you're embossing is flexible. So it kind of makes plastic. Sorry, it kind of moves plastically. So just by making like a cutout and pressing it in, you get that really nice embossing effect.
I think I might need you to have to commission you a logo stamp, because the ones I have they don't work that well. So
Cool. Yeah,
we'll
for
talk
sure.
after.
Yeah, if I
Lots
can't get
of
my
business-
3D
lots of
printer
business
working, you're gonna have
happening
to do
this
mine.
job.
You have to do my hooks for me.
Oh, for your truck.
Yeah.
I thought you're becoming a fusion expert.
Oh no, I'm fine with that. It's the 3D printers the issue.
Okay. But you got a bit of calibration this week, right?
Yeah, I'm planning on pulling the whole bed off and like just starting from scratch pretty much. Hopefully I can get it going.
Nice.
Good luck.
I'm sure you will.
So what's in my clamps, you
Yeah,
ask?
Grant, what's in your clamp?
What is in your clamps, Grant?
Well, I fixed the squeak in my chair.
I don't think so.
No, that
For
was
the
your.
most part, you can't hear it. Okay, there's a
I can
big
hear it.
spring. There's a big spring that it used to go squeak, squeak, and everyone can't see, but I was leaning back. And then there's like this side bit that like squeaks when I go to the side, and it's still there. But it's a chair made 1954, guys. Okay,
I like
it's
the
a little bit
squeak.
of squeak to it, but for the most part, the squeak is gone. So I was on a conference call with at work, like this is where I also sit to do like my office job, and I was like on a speakerphone dealing with a stakeholder, and I just like leaned back and my chair went squeak, and then I had like, well, you have to lean forward again, right? And then it went squeak, and I was just like, Jesus, I must sound like an idiot. So I immediately went out and got the WD-40 and started spraying everywhere. But now I can see I didn't get enough. Now that I'm sitting here recording the podcast, I can hear way more squeaking, so I'm gonna have to spray it down even further. But for the most part, the squeak is gone.
You just have a puddle of WD-40 under your chair right now.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
Sounds great though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a sense of smell. So I've got whatever asnomia or asnomia, whatever it is. Can't smell anything.
Insomnia of the nose.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm blind in my nose. Yeah. It's good for most things. Like I can go anywhere and I don't have a problem. Like
Showering,
I don't even need to.
right?
No problem. My wife, I'm sure, thinks differently, but whatever. But I still don't like changing diapers. So yeah. So the other thing is I'm going to be shaving my beard.
What?
Yeah, for cancer.
Oh, nice.
Hopefully not yours.
Yeah, not my cancer, no. For my mother, she was recently diagnosed, and she asked me to shave my beard, mainly because she doesn't like it. But she used that as like the way to guilt me into doing it.
Oh gosh!
And I went, okay, I can do it. So I'm going to be doing a fundraiser. I'm going to be releasing a video on September 1st, and through all of September, I'm going to be raising money, and then I'm going to do a live event at the end of September to shave my beard off. So I don't know.
Please tell me you're going to be doing it in stages.
Yeah. So like, what I think is like I might give the like the highest bidder, if they want, they can tell me where, like, to which line to go. So there should be like one line go. I don't know. I haven't figured all the details out yet, but
So it's like the
Do you get to
opposite of
choose how you do
November.
it?
Yeah. Literally the opposite of Movember.
Yeah.
It's a beard and it's shaving it off versus growing a mustache.
Yeah.
That's
What was
awesome,
that,
man.
Adam? Thanks.
I said you get to choose how you do it, right?
Well, I'm going to be doing it. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, like you don't have. Yeah. So please use the Diresta blade.
So, okay.
Ooh.
I want to.
Use the
Yeah. Because and I wanted to, like, as one of my promo materials, like, say in it, because when we had him on the podcast, he was like, "What is it, sharp?" And I actually said,
Yeah.
I think I could actually shave my beard with it. So
I have an idea.
we're gonna try. We'll try.
Love it.
You need to make a Jackman sized with the Diresta blade handheld razor.
That's kind of what I was thinking. But it's the wrong razor, right?
It's the wrong type of razor. Yeah.
You could still make a handle for it.
I
What?
know. It's the nice.
Actually, that'd be kind of cool because wasn't that the whole impetus for those blades? Was like everyone can make their own handle for it.
You don't have disposable razors in Canada.
Well,
Yeah, but they don't use those blades.
Yeah, it's not like it's not a utility knife, but you could definitely make some kind of handle that would hold that.
Yeah. I don't have enough time to do that.
Yeah,
But if someone wants to 3D print it and send it to me,
You have,
make you one
have
out
a
of leather.
month.
yeah, I have things happening in my life.
unbelievable.
Like, only one
How
person.
dare you?
Only one person can guilt me into doing anything, and that's my mom. Okay.
How do I find your mum?
She'll be like, if we do that, he may not do it. He may not go through with it. So I don't want to force him to. Anyways,
Dre doesn't realize that his mum listens to the podcast and she's going to call him up straight after this releases.
yeah, she probably will. She does listen to the podcast. I can tell because I look at the stats and I can know where she lives. And I'm really creepy about searching on where everyone listens from. Because I'm a weirdo. Anyways,
Everyone listening right now is like freaking out.
yeah. So
I know where you all live.
yeah. The last thing, to move on to other subjects, the last thing is I finished the video about the key holder I did for Dead Rise Woodcrafts. I made it from an old wheelbarrow handle, and I made a key holder for it. The video is going to be released before this podcast comes out, so that's all fun and good. But it kind of brings me to this to the topic we want to talk about today, which is when do you consider a project finished? Because for me, like, I've literally done it. The person has it. They've done an unboxing video and everything about getting that video, but it's still not done. That project's not done yet. But that's because the next thing is I'm going to do an Instructables for it. So it's not done. It's still not done.
Right.
And then, and the video will have to be released and all that fun stuff. And so it's kind of like, when do you actually consider a project finished? And that's just one example of why a project could never get done.
Well, and it's like not an emotional thing. It's a psychological thing, though. It's always there, right? It's always nagging. Yeah, I mean, I can give my 2 cents. It's actually something. It was my thing of the week last week on mine and Vincent's podcast, and it's a video by, I always say this wrong, so I always stumble, but it's Jake Conte. He's the founder of Patreon. He's also a musician. He does like tons and tons of stuff. But Bruce Ulrich sent me a video that he made on how to increase productivity, and it was exactly about that. I mean, it was a little bit more about like videos and books and that kind of stuff, but it was really interesting because it was exactly that. It was like things. There are things that finish, and then there's things that never finish. So sporting events finish, right? There's a winner, there's a loser, and it's done. Mm-hmm. But a lot of creative things like YouTube videos or books or projects don't ever really finish because you can always do more, right? You can always tweak them. There's no definitive end moment to those things. And so instead of thinking about those types of things as finishing those, it's publishing, right? So you decide at a certain point that you're going to publish it. That doesn't mean that it's finished, but it's a moment of where you publish it, and so the most productive or the most prolific people in the creative space generally are the ones that can do that. They can get to a point where they feel like it's ready to be published, and they move on to the next thing rather than worrying about it being finished, because finishing doesn't exist. And to me, that was a really, really interesting perspective on that, and it's had me thinking more about how, my workflow and my my production and things, because I mean, I said it on my podcast, is it took me a year to make my first YouTube video after I said I wanted to make my first YouTube video. And it's because I was worrying about making a perfect YouTube video until I realized that it was not going to be perfect, and I just published it. That was the first time. So.
Right. And it took me a week from when I said I wanted to make a YouTube video to when I put it out. It took me a year to get as good as your first video. Right? So there's something to be said about waiting a little bit, right? And
that's the balance, though, right? Neither of us did it right? Like, neither of us did it right.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Well,
I think it depends on the person.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like Grant decided I want to make a YouTube channel, and it was like, I think not even a month before I put out my first video. But I've gotten to where I am now from making videos. I like every video I learn something new or change something, and so yeah, it all just depends.
Well, and I think that's exactly it, though. I think, and that's the place where I've gotten to as well, is I've stopped worrying about putting out the perfect video or the best at it. I just tried every video. I tried to improve on something or try something new or add something. And to me, then that is enough for me to feel like I can publish it, right? I can put it out there because I'm doing something that makes me feel like I'm growing. But I can accept the fact that it's not, I'm going to look back on it and wish I had done things differently, but I don't know. I knew I did something to grow.
So it's funny. When we first thought of this topic, I didn't even think about when do you consider like a video or content or something published. I was thinking of physical project, which is interesting. Like I feel like knowing when a video, let's talk about specifically videos, knowing when a video is finished is very easy for me. Like, I feel like I have a really good sense for that in terms of like my own expression.
Right.
And maybe that's in terms of kind of having like a vision for the video and going from that. But I definitely struggle with knowing when like a physical product is finished.
It's interesting.
And I found that's something that's like every project is like an incremental learning experience. Like 6 months ago, this was way harder than it is now. And it's still even hard, but like just setting expectations, I found with doing commission work has helped a lot. And like knowing what the value of my work is and being like, okay, like maybe this edge could be 50% more burnished, but it's still really
50% more. Right.
Yeah.
But even that brings up a really good point of like, when is enough? Like even stuff you look at like sanding, like, do you need to go to 5,000 grit? Maybe, probably not. But is 220 okay? Or is 320 okay? Like, when are you finished sanding? When are you finished anything? And I know for me, it's always whatever everyone says, one step below that. Right? If everyone says you need to go to 320, I go to 220 and I go, I've done enough. Right?
Yeah.
If everyone says you need to do 3 coats, I'm lucky if I get 2 on there. Right? Like, that's just my way of thinking. It's like, I that's when it's finished to me, is I always cut it a little bit short and I'm okay with the 80% solution.
Mm-hmm. I think generally speaking, I think that's a really healthy way, because I think that last 20% is more for our own sake, right? Like it's more for us to feel than the person's going to care about. So I think that's actually a really healthy mindset.
That's something that, like going back to the set building, that's what a lot of guys struggle with. So, I mean, like a lot of guys in the scenery world might have been trained as woodworkers. They might have a background in building cabinetry for $1 million homes, and they are used to very tight tolerances and very tight miters. But the fact of the matter is, when you're building stuff that's going to be filmed and put on TV, it only has to look as good number one, as the specific situation requires, and number two, so that like a TV camera doesn't pick up the flaws. And so we were literally running across this today. Like there was one guy who was getting too caught up in the little details. And you just have to be like, no, like this is fine. Like no one will ever point a camera into the corner and see that these two grout lines don't exactly match up. Like we have way too many other things to do to get wrapped up in this little thing.
I feel like my making was made for TV.
I was about to say the same thing. Is it wrong that that's how I make my videos?
That's the same with me. Like when I only ever do one coat of finish. I know I should do two, but I only ever do one because at one, the second coat doesn't change anything from a visual perspective.
Yeah.
On the video. You can't tell when I've done 2 coats, 6 coats, or 30 coats of teak oil. You can only tell when I've done one. It goes from like light wood, dark wood. Great, we're good to go. Let's move on.
Well, I think
just throw some water on it.
That's the interesting thing though about, I mean, again, like content creation versus product sales, right? Because to your point, Morley, like that if I make a wallet or if I make some unnecessarily stupid project for Instagram that it's for the idea, it's for the concept. It's not, I don't worry about it being perfect by any means. But if someone commissions me to make a catch-all and they're paying me a ton of money, I will put on that second coat, that third coat, because they're going to end up handling it. But so there's a time and place for both, and there's a balance for both, I think. So.
I mean, I actually think if we're talking about, let's just stay on like commission work for a second. I actually do think that's where pricing plays a huge role. 100%. And I think it's something that like a lot of people are very uncomfortable with, but that is so important. I feel like when you're talking about pricing, it's when you're having that conversation with someone about like what they want, it's making sure that you have the same, like if they want an heirloom piece, you are knowing that they want an heirloom piece, or if they just want like a cool belt, you know that they just want a cool belt, and making sure you're on the same page. You're like, okay, this is going to take more work. It's going to be $200 rather than $100 or whatever. Like I found that just practically, having a clear notion of your pricing helps a lot with like knowing when something is done.
Well, I think you should be honest. I mean, you should be honest with them. You should have those honest conversations. You're like, I can do this for this price, but if you're expecting this, it's going to cost more. I just made a leather catch-all for someone, and they're not a maker, and they're not whatever, and they wanted a different kind of like a really nice kind of leather, and I said I can do that, but the leather costs more, and so that will cost you more, and I'm happy to do that, but you have to understand that is costing me more, therefore I have to charge you more. And he was totally fine with it. That's not always the case by any means, but I was honest with him. I wasn't just saying I have to do it for this price. It was kind of explaining that there are differences in materials, and some people get that, a lot of people don't. But
so I don't do commission work yet. I'm hoping to, well, not commission work, but I'm hoping to make furniture to sell eventually. But when you talk about like finishes and stuff, so if I'm making something for a video just to get it out, like say, for instance, when I made the Japanese thing for the origami, like I just did a coat of paint and that was it. It was done. I just needed it done for the video. I didn't care. But when you take into something like my workbench and something that I use every day, or try to, it's something I'm going to put like 10 coats on, or however many I need to do. But like you said, like something that you handle that people are going to be handling and touching is something you're going to put more effort into with that sort of stuff. It's just exactly what I've done with my like shop furniture.
Yeah. I wish I could say I was that good, but I know for me is that I also see, I put one coat on, I'll put a second maybe, and I'll go, nothing changed. I see no difference at all. Why am I putting more coats? I know more coats like adds to the luster, and it adds to the protection level and all that like great things about putting more coats of like polyurethane on something. But I literally look at it and I go, I know how to put the coats on. So if it wears out, I'll just put more coats on then. Right. Like I'm saying, like I know it's way more work later, but I'm also going like, meh. But I brought this up with my wife over dinner tonight, and we were talking about she makes these like I don't know, collages isn't exactly the right word, but she likes every year for our anniversary, she makes a collage of our life that year with pictures, and
1
they're
year
all
life,
like,
yeah.
they're all different depending on the year. So like collage isn't the right answer, but whatever. She makes a project every year, and we were actually talking because they're around our dinner table, and she's like, you know, I I make them until I couldn't, I feel comfortable. But now that I look at them for the next, like the oldest one's like 8 years old, she's like, there's so many things I would have done differently, and so many things I wish I could improve upon. But because there were gifts, and like she doesn't want to start taking, the gifts she gave me, take it down and and redo it. And I'd be like, well, that's my gift. You can't do that, right? Like it's not yours anymore.
Well, I think something like that though too is it's kind of nice to see the progression. I don't know personally. I mean, those types of yeah, it's kind of nice to be able to look back and say, all right, yeah, that wasn't what it is now. Same with like our YouTube videos, right? It's nice to be able to look back and say, look at how much I've improved, or look at how much different techniques. But yeah,
I can't watch my first 10 videos. Like my son, so I built my son like these little cars, a little car and a little truck, and it's a 10-minute video. I don't know why YouTube keeps recommending it to people. I can't watch it. Like I literally cannot watch it, and he wants to watch it all the time. So I'm actually I re-edited it. I took all the original footage because I never delete anything, and I re-edited the video to my new style, and I'm going to be releasing it sometime in September. Awesome. So that I can then I'll point to that video, and it's also kind of cool because it shows the. So it's like that project was never done because even now I'm re-releasing.
You're still
the
working on it, yeah. Right.
And I'm gonna have a capture. Like I have the moment I gave it to him when he was like 6 months old, and now I have the moment he's like 2.5. So 2 years later, he still plays with them all the time.
Oh, cool!
And I'm gonna try and capture like him playing with it candidly to show how this project is worth doing.
Well, and you realize that YouTube will not recommend this next version to anyone, even though
I know, like the old ones.
We know what you're doing, Grant.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, I gotta delete the old version because I'm like, nobody needs to see that.
Don't delete it. No, because Grant, I feel like what's so cool about your videos is or those ones in particular, it is you're making something for your son. Like it's so special. It's so genuine in the moment that you're never gonna be able to replicate that.
The outdoor kitchen, right?
Yeah, the mud kitchen.
Yeah, I think that might have been the first video I ever watched of yours, and it was it was super touching. Exactly, I think there's a really touching element to that. I agree, Morley. Like you got to keep that because it's part of the.
And Ethan, go watch that old video, and then tell me whether or not it's okay. I'm not going to delete it forever. I'll just remove it from YouTube. There's
make it not public.
Yeah, between deleting it forever and just making it so that no one can see it, because there's some of my videos I'm just like, oh, no one should see that.
Why can't I watch it?
Well, because you probably have already, because we met around the same time, and
wasn't your mud kitchen like your last video?
No,
the bent wood that I forgot to put on the
before the bent wood.
No, then there's a spar gauge.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah. I was just making fun of Ethan. Well, he only just subscribed to me today, so.
Oh, I see.
Throwing shade.
Oh no, you know what? So I
wasn't subscribed to him, so.
I did watch the poster hanging video as well, and the backpacking. So I watched since the mud kitchen. I did not watch the front door reno, but the mud kitchen.
That's one of the best videos.
All right, I'll watch it tonight.
Well, have you watched the Bentwood, the lighting video?
Oh yeah.
Okay, you never know. You might have just you were on vacation when it came out, so
it was.
Did you email them?
Yes, exactly. Right. Because if not. We're sticklers for that. It was, and we were gonna do this last week. Thank goodness we didn't, Grant, because my service was like basically you could get texts and that was it. So
wow,
that was not good. But
yeah. So I also there's So one other thing aspect is like when I think about this, I think about, there's different types of projects. Like you were talking commission pieces, but sometimes a commission piece is a commission piece that you end up putting on a YouTube video. So that whole project becomes bigger than the physical piece. Right. Sometimes it's just the physical piece. Sometimes it's bigger than the physical piece. And sometimes it's something like, one day you're going to have to refinish that coffee table you made. Right. Mm-hmm. So is a refinish?
Yeah.
Were you ever done?
Yeah, that's interesting.
But it's also if, like, say for instance, I made the drawers to put all the screws and all that stuff in the consumable cabinet. Or every single one of the handles that I put on the drawers has broken off. So I need to find another method of a handle. So does that mean that project's not finished?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Take into account my miter saw station. I took the swinging doors off and put sliding doors on. Does that mean that wasn't finished? Like, it's such a hard,
right?
Like, like something could be finished, but then a year later you think, oh, you know what? I would have rather it this way, and then you change it, so then it's not finished. So,
to that point, though, should projects ever be finished? I mean, should some projects ever be finished? And maybe they shouldn't. Some things maybe shouldn't.
Exactly.
And you adjust, and as you learn more, you add more to them, and that's not a bad thing, right?
For sure, it adds a ton of character.
It should be finished, but maybe that's a wrong mindset sometimes. That it shouldn't be finished. It should be a ever growing project throughout the time.
And I think it changes on whether or not you have control over it later.
Right.
Like if you're making something for someone, you give it to them, unless you have some sort of rock solid warranty that you're offering with your products, it's finished then. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
You give them a leather belt, it's done. If they come back a year later and say, well, this leather kind of wore out, you go, well, it's because you wore it.
I gained a ton of weight. I need an extra hole. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So let's quickly talk about Jimmy Diresta yet again. Take into account, so his picks, the ice picks, even to this day, after selling God knows how many, hundreds of thousands probably, even like it was within the last few episodes of making it, he said that he found a new way to make them.
Yeah, and if
he's added the magnet, he's added
exactly.
Did you guys ever watch his like original ice pick video when it was like screw the two ends together? How much has just changed from there?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is actually I found that whole story of his ice picks very empowering, not just for the product development, but for the fact that like he has evolved the process so much. And this might sound obvious, but that it hasn't like devalued the earlier ice picks.
Right.
Yeah. Like sometimes I get caught up, I think, in like, oh, now I'm better and I know a better way to do things and I can produce things to a higher quality. And it makes me look at my past things and be like, oh, those things are not as good because now I can do it better.
It's vintage Morley.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think like I look at an old Jimmy Diresta ice pick and it's like, oh, that's still great, even though the new ones are probably better in some incremental way.
Better in quality, but not in necessarily, whatever. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's because his quality was there the whole time. It's his process that changed.
Yeah.
Right. So the product.
No, but I mean, he's talked about it as well. He's talked about like you come across material deficiencies and like the original picks he was using weren't as good. He realized that in a certain batch.
Right. And he made some from China. And he realized that wasn't a good idea because nobody wanted them.
Yeah.
He did the China ones for like 35 and the other ones for like 65. I don't know. Those numbers are just made up. But like he sold out of the more expensive USA made ones faster than the China ones. And he was just like, well, I'm not going to do that again then. Right.
Yeah. But who could have predicted that? Right. I feel like that's like an experiment you need to do just to see like, oh, the real value in this is people knowing that Jimmy made them. And
well, exactly. Well, I think that's what comes with the brand and the personality. I mean, that's people are paying the $65 partially for Jimmy, right? Not just the functional aspect of the ice. I don't think I can tell you I've never chopped up any ice with my ice pick, so
I don't think many people would have. But that's also where Jimmy comes from, though, isn't it? He comes from like the toy industry with prototyping. Yeah, so and I think that's where people like we've say like the ice picks with the older ones is people will be like, oh, I've got the original.
Right.
You know, so like,
and they put value on that for sure. Yeah.
And I would like to have one, but both times I've tried to order one, they were sold out. And instead, I got other things from Jimmy, and I just went, "Cheer!" And literally the week, so I got the razor blade, like on the week he put it out, and then next week he put out new stock on his ice picks, and I went, "What the hell, Jimmy?"
So me and Bruce had the same challenge of like we both have wanted ice picks for a while. And so I was just on, just happened to be searching one day and the Ice Pick Mini was on there. So I ordered one right away. And I think it was maybe like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I texted Bruce right away. I think Bruce went on at like 11:30 and they were sold out. I was like,
Exactly.
Dang.
yeah.
Well, now that we're talking a little bit less about finished projects, a little bit about stuff we really like, I think we're going to move on over to our clamp mendations. And, yeah, so we're going to start off again. We're just going to throw Ethan under the bus and start with you.
All right. Well, I was gonna do, I'm gonna do a half and then a full one because I was gonna steal David Bacciuto's from making it this past week, which was the Weird Science YouTube channel, and specifically the 1984 video. And I was intrigued because I was born in 1984, and
Me too.
I watched it. Yeah, so I watched it. And they didn't mention me once, so that's why it's not my thing of the week, or my clampation. How is it?
Clamp mendation.
Clamp mendation.
It's like recommendation, but with clamp.
Clamps. Yeah. Gotcha. So instead, I will do. I'll give a little love to Justin Garage Bender. He put out the first video, and actually tonight, I think today he dropped the second one. I haven't watched it yet, but the first video on his sofa fridge. And one, I mean, I hadn't seen a ton of his videos, but like the amount of like personality and character that he puts in his videos are hilarious. And I think that there's a fine line where it's like can come off cheesy. He does it really, really well. So and so yeah, I thought the first episode on that whole thing was really well done. It balanced funny, but also some really cool techniques and some problem solving that I thought was really, really cool. So I'm excited for the rest of the series, and I'm just happy that he has finally finished it. So, so that's my recommendation. Clampation. I can't. You're gonna
Clampendation.
give me dubs like subtitles.
Some subtitles on an audio podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
When
It's
Adam
hard
is
better
better
than what I'm
just
saying.
record himself saying clampendation and put it over you.
Clampendation.
Just after we're done, record it like 5 or 6 times. Send us the best version, and we'll insert it here.
But I'm gonna do it like very different pitches and voices that clearly isn't me. Yeah. Okay. Deal.
Like you're recording the voice for a sat nav.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what about you, Morley?
So for me this week, I mentioned this, maybe not, maybe it was on Into the Spotlight, maybe not in here, but I've kind of had a big thing for videos of live concerts since COVID hit. I've always enjoyed watching those, but especially like not being able to go to any live events. It's been really good for me. And everyone, I think lots of people know about NPR Tiny Desk concerts.
Oh, I love it.
They take some amazing artists, they cram them in the tiny NPR studios, put them in a corner, and they do a live show. They're amazing. Everyone should check them out. But since COVID has started, they've been doing NPR Tiny Desk home concerts. So they basically do little mini shows with artists. They record them remotely and then release them under the NPR Tiny Desk name. So there's 2 recently that I've seen that are incredible. First one is probably my favorite rap group of all time, the Flatbush Zombies. I've seen them live 3, maybe 4 times. It's incredible. I'll just leave it at that. And
I thought for sure they were going to be a metal band.
Actually, they have some like metal vibes. There's a lot of
Like a
moshing.
rock band.
Yeah, no, they have also that. They're very rock and roll. They're awesome. They have like a whole 5-piece band with them. They have background singers. It's really, really good. The other one I actually saw right before we hit record is from Adam's neck of the woods, Tame Impala. He put a Tiny Desk concert out just a few days ago. And so for the people that don't know, he does kind of like experimental psychedelic rock sort of stuff. And the original project is just him, but he tours with a couple other guys and they like recreate a lot of the sounds he makes. And it's really, really good. Like he's a great singer. He's just like such a amazing musician. He's like bouncing around from like samplers to drum machines. And I don't think I'd ever really seen videos of him performing before, but
What was the name again?
Tame Impala. It's
Okay, yes, I do know.
Yeah, the project. Oh, what's the guy's name? Kevin.
Never heard of him.
Parker, I believe. Yeah, he's from Perth. He also has like a really interesting story. I think a lot of, as like just like a maker, I kind of related. He kind of like started in engineering and like realized music was his true passion. Really interesting guy. Just like his Wikipedia article is very inspirational. So yeah, the NPR Tiny Desk home concerts in general is my claim.
That's awesome. Morley, have you ever checked out Audio Tree?
I've heard so many people talk about them, but I haven't seen one. So explain it. Like, give me the Audio Tree elevator pitch.
Yeah, well, so I mean, it's a similar concept. I think it's kind of a low budget but kind of really authentic vibe. And I've only seen a few, but like I really like the Moon Taxi Audio Tree was kind of what introduced me to them. And it's just it's a really small studio. It has that kind of not NPR vibe, but that kind of like not overproduced kind of vibe. It's I don't know. Yeah, it's just it's more raw and less like produced, but very authentic at the same time.
Cool.
And they do. I think they do. If you watch the whole thing, they do like some kind of question and answer and stuff too. But it's just a kind of a different, very similar but a different vibe. But still very cool. I've only seen a few, so I can't. I wouldn't recommend completely, but I bet you'd like it. I bet you could find some that you liked if you like Tiny Desk.
Yeah, and I know some artists I love have done them. I just have yet to see them.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
Sweet, definitely.
So I have to be honest, I have no idea what NPR is.
It's like the American public radio.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So like the BBC in America.
Yeah. Instead of calling it like British Broadcasting Corporation or the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, USA just goes, we don't have to say where we're from. It's just national. With this, the national.
You don't know.
Yeah. National Basketball Association. I don't know why. It hasn't. No, it
so
hasn't.
NPR.
Trump. Yeah.
So NPR is like BBC for radio.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
BBC is radio, and so was CBC. And then it later broadcast stands for radio and television.
And it's like PBS of radio for Americans. For Americans.
Anyway.
For the public broadcasting system. Yeah.
Because it's only public in America.
Yeah. We always got PBS. I thought it was Canadian, so.
Well, they do have a lot of Canadian and British things on PBS, surprisingly. Not surprisingly, but
it's because it's cheap. They just buy it cheaply. Because they can't afford a lot because it's public.
Mind blow.
Yeah. So what about you, Adam? What's your recommendation of the week?
So my video of the week came out this morning, and I quickly got onto the notes and wrote it down before Grant had a chance to, because I figured he would try and steal it off me. This morning, Pat Lap put out a wood turning as therapy. Well, actually, I think someone else made it and he put it on his channel. But it was like ASMR for wood turning. It was such a beautiful video to watch. Like, yeah, you just have to watch it.
Yeah,
that sounds sweet.
I think I saw it like last week. I don't know why, but I think I did. And it was really good, but I totally the whole time expected him to scream.
Yes.
Maybe that was the joke. Maybe he just put it to troll his true fans.
If you do it all the time, then it's not funny anymore.
So then you have to stop.
Genius.
So that's what people off guard.
If you guys want to see the video I made that probably has the most views, the video I recorded, I was the cameraman of, go watch Woodworking is So Relaxing by Pat Lap.
Okay.
because I recorded that video with my GoPro, by the way, and then he turned all my footage into his little video there. So I thought that was really cool. And yeah.
That's so cool. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
I wrote it down.
So I guess we're on to me. So I'm going to recommend something I've been reading. Not done the book, but I've read a bunch of Nick Offerman books before, so I can be pretty confident that the book doesn't end in a way that I'm going to change my mind on it. But it's a Gumption by Nick Offerman. So I've read his other books, and then I got reading this one, and what I really like about it is he talks about a bunch of different characters. You know, he talks about, like, George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, stuff like that. Obviously, it's American focused because that's where, you know, we're in Canada. We get all the American stuff. But what I like about it is he talks about the negative stuff too. When he talks about these people, he doesn't just glance over the fact that, like, George Washington owned slaves, right? He talks about it, and he goes like, "Yeah, that sucked. That was a jerk move." Basically, almost exact words, almost a quote from the book was that was a jerk move. Yeah, so that's what I like about it, and I just like his humor. So, and the fact that he's also, you know, into woodworking, and of course friends with Jimmy, you know. So,
Well, I'm hoping now that we just talked about the fact that if you always do something and then you surprise something, I hope that you hate the end of the book just for the humor for this.
No. At the end of the book, he says, "And by the way, I'm a racist." No. No, I recommended it. Yeah. I hate Inuit people. No.
Grant, have you read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. When you say gumption, I just remember it made me think of that. That's always gumption traps.
Yeah. So I've actually, my wife is currently reading it. I read it a couple years ago, and then I said, like, "Hey, you should just read it." And the first, like, for the first, like, I don't know how many chapters, she was like, "This is the worst book ever." They're just talking about motorcycle tappets and adjusting the tappets, and I was like, "Just keep reading, okay? Just keep reading. Like, give it a chance." Anyway, she seems to like it now, but that's a really good, like, I think I need to read it again because it's been a long time.
Yeah, it was a very influential book for me because I read it in high school. And
I don't like. What's the 20-second cliff notes like? What
it's a weird book because it's kind of semi-autobiographical. So essentially, this guy takes a motorcycle trip across the country with his son, and he's telling the story retrospectively. But he's also like a philosopher and a college professor. And during this time, he gets caught up in this whole idea of, like, what is quality and can you define quality? And also at the same time, he kind of is reflecting on losing his mind years ago. But essentially, it talks a lot about, like, I mean, the title, like, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, is that he gets a lot of, like, pleasure and relaxation from, like, working on his motorcycle. Yeah. And I think what I found a lot of the value came out of it is just, like, really knowing, like, he compares himself with his friends who are on this trip who have, like, the really nice BMW motorcycles, but they're terrified of them because they have no idea how they work. And if they break down, they won't be able to fix them. But he's driving this, like, this old cafe racer that he knows everything about. And
you can fix with a wrench. Right.
Yeah. That's what I liked the most about it, more so than any of, like, the philosophical quality. Well, the quality discussions are interesting, but
I definitely have heard the name. And so that's interesting. Yeah. All right. I might add that to my list.
So I used to have a Corvette, and I sold it because I never wanted to work on it because I was always afraid of, like, doing something I couldn't fix because, like, the body's made of fiberglass and, like, it's just, like, it's a beast beyond what I'd done. But I was like, when I really look back at it, I really shouldn't have been afraid to just kind of, like, I've rebuilt BMW motors before. I shouldn't worry about my Corvette. Like, I don't know what it was, but they were just, like, it's the same sort of thing. It's like this, like, it's a hang up and it's like a problem in your mind. And I needed to think more about the Zen.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool.
So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mention our Patreon supporters. So if you are on Patreon and you're an F-Clamp level, you get a shout in the show. So it's Leroy from Big Rock Timberworks. He's our F-Clamp level supporter. There's a couple more of those spots available. If you want, you can go over to Patreon. There's a pre-show and after show on almost every one. There's always a after show, but sometimes there's also a pre-show. And we also have sometimes some extra special Patreon content available. If you can't go on Patreon and you just want to share our if you want to support us, you can just share the podcast with a friend. That's probably the best way you could support us. And the other thing is, if you want to leave us a review, we have every time we get a new review, Morley will read it in the accent of where that review came from. So, we're hoping to get some more Australians to leave reviews. Apparently, we're really big in Poland. We're in the top 5 in Poland last week. So if someone could please, from Poland, leave us a review, that'd be great.
I have no idea how to do a Polish accent.
Right, exactly. That's the fun part about this, is that it will likely be, interesting.
Terrible.
But so we don't have any reviews this week, but if you want to leave a review, then go for it.
I was just thinking on the way home from work today, if you have left us a review and we haven't read it, message me on Instagram, because we've obviously missed it. Sometimes we don't get the notifications. Like I have a website that sends me them every time someone does one, but sometimes they miss them or I haven't got the notification. And also, we don't know where you actually are from. So if you want to make up something really hard for Morley to do, just do it.
Yeah.
Oh, or like a character voice. That'd be cool. I'll try to do like Morty from Rick and Morty or something.
Or like the who is it that the pirate from Pirates of the Caribbean?
I'm going to leave a review. I'm going to leave a review and name myself Pee Wee Herman.
All right. Well, the other thing I want to do is I want to thank TF Turning for our theme song. It's the little fun thing that plays at the start, maybe at the end. I can't remember.
Both.
So, yeah, there you go. Both. I always click off before the end. I'm sorry.
So you missed it.
So
you missed the. You missed the secret part after the ending music. Then
probably, I was part of the conversation, so I heard it firsthand. I don't need to hear it secondhand. Anyways, any other business before we move on to the outro?
No.
I see a big bunch of staring faces. So we're going to move into where can everyone find you? We're going to start again with, you know what? We're going to end with Ethan.
All right.
So, Morley, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Morley Kurt everywhere.
And Adam.
You can find me at Make a Mackie everywhere.
And everyone can find me at the Grant Alexander everywhere. What about Ethan? What about you?
Well, you can find me at Ethan Carter Designs everywhere, Instagram and YouTube most specifically, but Ethan Carter Designs. And then also I have a podcast with Vincent Ferrari that's called Because We Make. And you can find us on any platform. So,
and if, for those listening on the day this comes out, they're doing a live podcast on that day. Yeah. So at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. Eastern Daylight Savings Time, whatever it is, Eastern Time.
Yep.
You can find. They're going to be doing it on YouTube.
I think so. I think that's where we landed. But let's go with that.
Grant just blew up a spot
on YouTube.
No, that's what we're planning. Yeah.
Yeah. So you should go follow Ethan, and he'll either put a community post or something like that out there if it's not on his channel.
There you go.
There you go.
Yes.
Or on Instagram, maybe it'll be on there. Whatever you do, go follow Ethan, and I'll, of course, listen to Because We Make.
Thank you, guys, and thank you guys for having me on. This has been a blast. It was really fun.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. It's awesome.
Just quickly before we go, Grant, you said people could find you everywhere. Does that mean you're on Twitter now?
I've actually always been on Twitter, but I just never used it.
Actually, I was not on Twitter, and Vincent made me get on. So,
and now he's left.
He's back.
He's back. Yeah,
he's back.
He did me. Yeah, he's back. Yeah.
Oh God.
This is going to be our first week where Grant didn't say not Twitter. Yeah, right. Rant on Twitter. That's
right. If you can go follow me on Twitter, and you will see a dead account that has 0 posts. So, and that's how it'll stay. Except for the one I commented once on the Clamp podcast just to see if anyone thought it would be funny, and no one did.
Oh, we do. We do.
All right, I'm going to reshare it.
Yeah.
Or
Perfect.
retweet it. See, I don't even know what to retweet it. See, I'm with you, Grant. I'm with you.
Put it on my Twitter stories.
I just feel like such a twit when I get on there.
Twitter Reels? What are Twitter Reels? I don't know.
Yeah, Instagram, YouTube, that's where it's at. And that's where Ethan's at.
Exactly.
And
Nice.
podcasting.
Love it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And we'll see you guys all next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, I've heard the name. I don't think I've had it, though.
Well, Muskoka is like a place. It's like the
Okay,
Adirondacks. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
But it's the Canadian Adirondacks. So
is
here
funny.
in Canada, we call them Muskoka chairs.
Okay, so that's so funny. I was just going to say they have what I would call an Adirondack chair as their
hilarious.
logo. And I remember I've talked to that with Eden before. She's like, she's like, oh, it's a Muskoka chair. I was like, what are you saying?
Oh, wait.
I
Are
would
you
always
serious?
say-
That's what you call them?
yeah, they're called Muskoka chairs in
Oh,
Canada.
I thought you were joking.